All right, guys. Good morning. Good morning to you. It's Thursday, March 4th, 2021. This morning, we're going to continue our week of talking entrepreneurship. And this morning's title is Entrepreneurship is a Choice. Let's get started.
It is ultimately important for you to look at your goals, truly what you want to do in your life, and then look at the people who you spend the most time with in your life and figure out if that lines up.
All right, what's happening, guys? Good morning to you. Sorry for the delay here, man. I was just getting everything all set up here this morning, and it is not always easy, as you guys know, when you're dealing with technology. I'm crawling all over the floor, hooking up wires, doing all kinds of stuff. I got to shift lighting around. That's still not quite right yet. I got to hang all that stuff from the ceiling. So this is my office space here. It's also a studio. So we've got a video studio and audio podcast set up right here in my office. So pretty awesome to be able to do that, but that takes some complications. Still not done, but good enough to be on here with you guys. So thanks for your patience. And sorry for the delay this morning. So this morning's topic is entrepreneurship is a choice. I wanted to first just read you the definition of entrepreneurship before we dive in here. The definition of an entrepreneur is this: a person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. Read that one more time to you. A person who organizes and operates a business or businesses, taking on greater than normal financial risks in order to do so. I would sum it up by saying this: it's a person that creates something from nothing. A person that literally hatches an idea and brings it to life and is able to get people to pay them money for the problem that they are able to solve. So think about that. Many people, entrepreneurship is really glorified these days, right? On social media, it's cool to have that in your title. And, lots of people talk about being entrepreneurs. Many of them that talk about it are not really by that definition. But it is genuinely just a person that creates something from nothing. Someone that has an idea that they're super passionate about, that they want to get out to the world. And so I want to dig into that this morning. I want to talk about the difference between entrepreneurship and employee, the biggest misperception of having a job versus being an entrepreneur. And then I want to talk about the characteristics of successful entrepreneurs. But always remember, guys, what you do for a living, how you make money, how you provide for your family, it's always an option, right? It's always your choice. So entrepreneurship is a choice. Being employed is a choice. Depending on your personality, your makeup, there is no right or wrong answer to this. It's really different for each individual person, right? So we're going to dig into that. As always, I want to say good morning to some folks. What's happening? David, Carla, Dean, Cam, Tammy, Jared, Rick, Lynn, Cindy, Ryan Austin, my man, Randy, Christina. Good morning to you guys, and thank you guys for being here. Hope you guys like the new frame, by the way. Just got that done last night, and was working on that this morning too, to be fully transparent. So what is the difference between entrepreneurship versus being employed? What's the difference? I would say the one major difference, being a person that experiences this every day, that is an entrepreneur, involved in several businesses. It is ultimately, if I break it down, it comes down to the responsibility of others, right? As an employee or even a leader within another company, it doesn't quite have the weight of responsibility that entrepreneurship does. So if you're a solo entrepreneur, this would be different, right? You would only be responsible for yourself. But if you are an entrepreneur that builds a business, Ryan Austin has a lot of employees, right? We have quite a few employees. That responsibility is different, right? It's different because that idea that you created from nothing has to support families. There are children of employees that need to be fed, that need to be clothed, that need to go to school, that need to, families that need to buy houses. And so as an entrepreneur, you feel that weight, right? You carry that every day. And for some people that drives them, for some people, it will break them down, right? The same pressure that creates a diamond also turns other things to dust. So entrepreneurship is a little bit different from that perspective. You have to be able to see the big picture, and you have to be able to not overreact to that level of stress. You have to be able to just kind of pull that in and deal with it, right? Just know that it's there and understand how to process it. So that for me is the biggest difference in entrepreneurship versus being employed. When I was employed by other people, I worked in corporate America, I worked in private business. My work ethic was really not any different than it is now. I pretty much did the same things. I might do a little more now. I might wake up a little earlier, but I don't think that's because I own a business. I think it's because I've learned a lot, and I've learned that that's what it takes to be successful, to get things that I really want to achieve. So what is the biggest misperception of having a job versus entrepreneurship? Because this is a big one, right? And this is one that it took me a while of being an entrepreneur to really get the perspective of this one, right? To really realize that the story that sometimes we tell ourselves when we're employees is just a story. It's not really the truth. So the biggest misperception that, in my opinion, of having a job versus entrepreneurship is that somehow the idea of having a job gives you more security. The reality is that your performance in both scenarios is what provides you security. So it doesn't matter if you're an entrepreneur or an employee, you're able to generate profit for a company. You're able to generate revenue for a company. You're able to acquire customers. You're able to do a job that helps drive a company forward, or you wouldn't be employed. So the idea, and this is for those people out there who have thought about entrepreneurship. For me, I thought about it for years and years. And to be honest with you, I was always afraid. I had kids. I had every reason. I didn't come from an entrepreneurial family. So I had every reason not to do it, right? I had every excuse, I should say, not to do it. Fear, doubting my own abilities. I went through all of those things. And what really stuck out to me as I became an entrepreneur is that whole idea of somehow, that job giving you better security than being on your own, it's just not true. It's just not true. You provide your security. And so if anybody out there is considering entrepreneurship and they've been afraid or they've doubted themselves, I encourage you, please reach out to me. I'd love to have that conversation with you, and I'd love to guide you through the thought process of how to do it. And I'd love to be able to warn you about some of the things that are coming your way if you decide to take that step. It's easier than you think. There's a period where it's difficult, but for the most part, it's easier than you think. Yeah, Leonard just said it. How many mortgages you pay, how many car payments you pay, how many mouths you feed. It's mind-blowing if you actually stop to think about it. And that's true. Entrepreneurship is a choice. It's also a gift. It's a gift to be able to create something that many, many families can exist within, right? And that's something special. Not everybody gets that opportunity. Certainly a lot more people don't take that opportunity than probably want to have it. So I pulled up this morning, what are the characteristics of a successful entrepreneur? Because I want you guys to realize those that are entrepreneurs, maybe what on this list you need a little work on. And for those that aren't, maybe you'll see this list and say like, man, I'm pretty good at a lot of those things. Maybe I should chase that dream that I had of opening my own business. So here's the list. I'm just going to go through it. And then I'm going to talk about a few that really stand out to me. Creativity, passion, motivation, product or service knowledge, ability to network, self-confidence, optimism, vision, goal mindset, risk-taking, persuasiveness, decision-making, tenacity, money management, and adaptability. I'm going to pick out a few here just to kind of lean into that I think are huge. Actually, 2 and 3 are kind of together: passion and motivation. If you don't have it, don't open a business, because you will get kicked in the teeth. You will be knocked down. And if you don't have those things, it's very difficult to keep going. The problems that come your way are difficult. But if your passion, motivation, and dreams are bigger than those problems, they won't seem quite like the same problems, if that makes sense. I always say, it came from Grant Cardone. He says, set goals so big that your problems pale in comparison. And that's what I'm talking about with passion and motivation. So ability to network. If you can't find customers, if you can't network with people and create business out of thin air, create customers from nothing, it's going to be very difficult for you to be successful as an entrepreneur. And again, you don't have to do that necessarily, but you have to have somebody then in your business, in your partnership, that can. And, if you're starting out and you have an employee that does that, just remember those employees can always leave, right? So they are not tied to the business the same way as you are. So the ability to network really needs to be woven into the fabric of your company. Optimism and vision. I would say that those are two almost in the same as well. Like, you have to be able to cast a vision that is big enough for every single person in your company to fit within. I think we talked about this yesterday. We talked about it a ton in our meeting this week with the payment group. If you don't have a vision big enough for your company, for every person and every family that you support's dreams to fit within it, those people will leave you. Your business will not be successful. So remember, make sure you're right sizing your vision, right? That what you ultimately want, that your vision aligns with that, and that you're constantly communicating that. Brett says in the comments here, creativity is also a major component. I would agree, man. Creativity is at the core of entrepreneurship. You're creating something out of nothing, right? Creativity, by the way, Brett, was number 1 on this list of characteristics that I found online this morning. And then, at the bottom here, we've got persuasiveness, which is essentially the ability to sell. If you can't sell, you don't have a culture of sales in your company, it's gonna be a very difficult road for you to be an entrepreneur. And the last thing on the list, I think, is a really big one, and that is adaptability. There's going to be a lot of things that fly your way as an entrepreneur that you have to adapt and overcome. And you could tie in tenacity into that too, right? It takes tenacity to be able to overcome some of the things that come your way. And it is difficult, but it is also incredibly rewarding. When you think about creating something from nothing, our company, the Payment Group, will be 3 years old here in just a few weeks. And we talked about that at our meeting this week. And I looked at the guys and said, like, we created this logo less than 3 years ago. And look at where we are. Look at what we've created out of thin air, right? And it takes a lot of hard work, a lot of sleepless nights, somebody put in the comments here, a lot of, nights and early mornings when nobody else is working and you're after it, right? I walk into this building every day and nobody else is in here. I'm the first car in the parking lot. And in a lot of cases, I'm the last one to leave. And, that's what it takes. But it's that short-term sacrifice that creates long-term success. It's the ability to sacrifice today to be paid a larger reward later, to ultimately have freedom, right? And that's a tricky one too, because people say, well, as an entrepreneur, you have freedom, right? You can do whatever you want. That's true to a degree, but you also have to have the discipline to know when that's possible and when it's not. So entrepreneurship is a choice. It's also a gift. It's your ability to change the world, to leave your impact, right? To create something outside of yourself that leaves a mark on the world, that solves a problem for people, that brings joy to other people's lives. When you can solve problems for people, what people are willing to pay for that problem to be solved versus what it costs you to solve it, that's called profitability. And so entrepreneurship is built on that concept. It's the exchange of money in order to solve problems. So I would encourage you guys, if you've ever had that itch, if you've ever looked at entrepreneurship as an option in your life, you've got a couple different paths that you could go. You could work for a very entrepreneurial company. We run our company very entrepreneurial driven, meaning everybody kind of can create within our company their own little journey, right? So that's a great first step, is maybe to work for a company that's more entrepreneurial driven versus working for a corporation that is very, structured and, wanting to know what you're doing all the time. It lacks that creativity that Brett was talking about. So maybe taking that step to get into a business that's a little bit smaller, you can get a little closer to the creative part of it, to how it runs, to the inner workings. The other step is just jump right in. Just figure out something that you can solve, that you're passionate about, and create something. It's easier to do today than it's ever been before, right? It's an easy choice. That choice is made in an instant. It's a journey of 1,000 miles, but it starts with a single step, and that's your choice to take entrepreneurship on in your life. So, as I said before, if anybody is listening to this and they've had a dream in their life that they, always wanted to pursue, and I don't care if you're 70 or 17, it's never too late. You can go back and read the stories. Colonel Sanders didn't start until he was in his 60s, right? So when you think about that, don't ever handcuff yourself because of age or any outside ideas that people try to put on you. But if you have that itch and you need some guidance making it happen, I'm available to you. Call me. I'll tell you the good, bad, and the ugly. I'll be honest with you, and I'll try to guide you in the right direction. And I've got a whole network of people, man, that are really the same mentality, that are willing to help. Many of them have probably ran businesses that you're thinking about creating. So that networking, the ability to network, is huge. And it starts with that one single step of just reaching out to somebody for some advice on how to do it. But I hope this message reaches somebody today, and somebody takes that entrepreneurial spirit and puts it to use and creates something from nothing. So I appreciate you guys being here this morning. I hope this was valuable, and I sure hope, man, it touches somebody that urges them to start that business. Maybe it's starting another business, a second business, a third business. Entrepreneurship is a choice, but man, it is the greatest gift that you can have when it comes to what you do professionally. Thank you guys for being here. I will see you tomorrow morning, 7:30 a.m. right here on Morning Perspective. Love you guys. Thanks for being here.